Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for another edition of Let's Argue, where I go on social media, I look for you guys to throw at me some unpopular opinions, some hot takes, some tough questions, and I answer the best ones in this segment. Yeah. Let's go! The discrimination on Russ is bizarre. I understand the controversy regarding his ignorance on drugs, but not the idea of him being cocky. When it comes to rap, I thought an ego was somewhat necessary and adds to the personality of a rapper. Even Pac and Biggie were cocky. I mean, sure, there are a lot of rappers who are cocky and braggadocious in their music. That's kind of to be expected at this point. But every single time you hear Russ open his mouth, he's complaining and whining about, oh, I don't get enough respect in the industry. I'm the best. I'm one of the greatest. I'm so talented. It just comes off so angry and so bitter and so sad. And truly, at the end of the day, his rapping is average. His production is average. His songs are just like kind of bland and sleepy. There's nothing particularly special about Russ's music other than his obnoxious attitude. So yeah, I feel like people are kind of in the right to jump down his throat when they see him puffing himself up and acting like he's God's gift to rap, when honestly his output, his catalog is mediocre at best. The top 3 Disney soundtracks are Tarzan, Aladdin, and a Goofy movie. You didn't put no Lion King in here, which is a top-tier Disney soundtrack, okay? Like, you're putting Goofy movie in here, you might as well put Frozen in here. Bill Ratchet says rap with actual bars and storytelling is going to make a massive comeback within the next year. It may within the scene, but I feel like in order for that to happen, the trap trend needs to die out. And once the trap trend dies out, I feel like hip-hop's stage within the mainstream might diminish a little bit, because I don't know if the genre can come out with a style or a sound that is as poppy, that is as lowest common denominator, is as widely appealing as trap. I mean, it's so mindless in some respects that you really don't need to know much about hip-hop music or really rap anything to enjoy it or get into it or appreciate it. So it would be nice to sort of see a storytelling comeback, but I don't know if once that happens, will it be appealing in the same way that like a Young Thug is, or, you know, anybody who's being considered for the XXL freshman list right now. Not necessarily. But I do think there are some dudes out here who are doing some thoughtful and some thought-provoking stuff, some conscious stuff, some narrative-based stuff. And it would be great to see them grow and continue to push boundaries and hopefully gain a bigger audience too. The first 2 Limp Bizkit albums are actually really good. People just overlook them because Limp Bizkit are seen as a meme band. You know, I don't know if I can so much agree about their second record. I do think there are a lot of crappy, novelty, annoying, overplayed songs on that album. But their first record, $3 Bill Y'all, is raw as fuck. And I don't care what anybody says. Why did you list all the producers of Pop 2 except me? I'm sorry. I apologize, okay? I didn't mean to. You know, just give me another chance, all right? I'm not perfect. I don't get it right all the time. I'm just out here trying my best, you know? You know, I'm just one guy, just a big music fan. You know, I just listen to the albums. I call them how I see them. You know, it's just sometimes things fall through the cracks. It doesn't mean you're not special. It doesn't mean you didn't do a good job. You know, just it's nothing personal. I wish you all the best. You know, and maybe one day we'll meet in person, and you know, we could shake hands over it, and I'll apologize to your face, okay? You know, I'll even give you $10. You know, and we'll leave it at that. Okay? Okay. Cameron is one of the most underrated rappers of the 2000s. I have to agree. At the time when I was in college, I thought he was a little overrated, but that's because back in the day, Cameron was really popular. Dipset was really huge, especially over here on the East Coast. However, in retrospect, not that I think their music is better than it was when I was younger, but it's just kind of shocking to me that it seems like in the grander scheme of New York hip hop during the Bling era, like Dipset has been so forgotten. The Diplomats have been so forgotten, which is odd because the music they made was way fucking better than G Unit. It was way better than anything 50 Cent ever did solo. 50 was boring. 50 was a proto mumble rapper. Some of his early tapes and stuff were pretty raw, but he's overrated. Weezer are just an industry plant meant to exploit white guys in their early 20s that have never felt the touch of a woman. Well, Weezer came out in the 90s when literally everybody was an industry plant because there was no internet for artists to put their music on and then blow up online, and then the industry signs you, so that's just a given. And white guys in their early 20s who have never felt the touch of a woman is my demographic, okay? So I would kindly ask you to leave them alone and just be a bit nicer from now on Twitter, okay? Thank you. Country music has not progressed for the past 20 years and will die out in the next couple of years. I do not foresee this happening. One, I think country music has progressed in the past 20 years because I remember the country music that was playing on the radio when I was a kid. I remember the Billy Ray Cyruses and the Garth Brooks and the so on and so forth. And country music now sounds a lot different. It's way shinier, way poppier, way more condensed, way more formulaic. And I feel like that's part of the reason that country music has maintained its hegemony over certain parts of the country because, God, it's so friggin' catchy. It's like they've gotten the catchy pop country song down to a science at this point. Now, the second reason that I kind of disagree with what you've stated here is that I don't think country is going away anytime soon because I feel like the key demographics that consume country music are not going away anytime soon. I feel like the only way to get rid of country is to get rid of the people who are country fans, and I mean, obviously I'm not advocating for that, but I mean, country fans aren't going away anytime soon, and you know, people enjoy listening to music that they feel they identify with personally and represent them culturally, and for a lot of people who live in certain sections of the country, that is country music. So, you know, what are you going to do? Country music, I feel like, is here to stay. To say that country music is going to disappear in the next few years would be as ludicrous as to say, oh yeah, rap music, that's just going to disappear in a couple of years. That's all. Does music even matter in the grand scheme of things? Does art matter? I mean, absolutely. I mean, art might not seem at the end of the day as functional as something like, let's say, The Wheel, but at the end of the day, like, what isn't art? Architecture is art, computer code and video games and programming, in a sense, isn't art. So art does have utility. You know, when you're talking about is art useful, you're kind of talking about just the human creative process in general. And even for, I guess, less utilitarian forms of art, film and sculpture and music. Like, imagine if we didn't have these things. What the fuck would life even be? It would just be this endless, uninterrupted cycle of eating, sleeping, working, and shitting. And I guess occasionally fucking. Like, that's all life would be. If it wasn't for art, if it wasn't for creativity, if it wasn't for the will to come up with crazy ideas and try to, in some kind of way, make them manifest into the world that we exist in through various mediums of art, like, it's fantastic. It makes life exciting. Humans are a social species, and of course something like art was going to come up in our evolutionary process because humans communicate in very complex ways, and art is just kind of a sign of that, because sometimes there are things that can be better conveyed through art, not necessarily communicated as effectively through just talking with one another. And art, specifically music, allows us to communicate on a grand scale and is a universal language of sorts. I mean, there are few art forms that sort of transcend cultural and lingual boundaries in the way that music can. I will leave it at that. Thanks for watching, everyone. Love you, love you, love you. You're the best. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. I have feelings for you as well. And hit the bell. Anthony Fantano, let's argue forever.